Welcome everybody to Ringsiders Wrestling. Today on the show, I'm joined, of course, by Rian. As you can see, it's been a while since we've had Rian on the show, but he's back. And today we've got our very special guest, all the way from New Japan, currently in Arizona, in this amazing heat. We've got Clark Connors. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, like we were saying before, looks like the fact that you're even wearing a vest in October to us is crazy.
He's got a pool, man.
You've got a pool. You're wearing a vest.
Yeah. Yes, I was gonna go shirtless, but I was gonna float around, but I was like, I don't want to be too much of a dick in front of you guys.
Hey, we did have that before when we interviewed Ace Austin. He was in an inflatable, floating in his pool while doing the interview, drinking a beer.
Okay. Well, I'm very glad that I didn't do it then. I don't want to be compared to Ace Austin in
that way. That's one of the best ways I've seen someone do an interview. To be fair, I was like, how are you going to top that? But yeah, look, we're here to talk to you today, Clark Connors. Like we said, New Japan Pro Wrestling. We love speaking to people who have worked with or are currently working with New Japan. It's not often we get to do these interviews. We know you're very busy, but New Japan, a lot's been happening in New Japan recently, including the short stay in the UK, the 2-night event. What are your thoughts instantly? Let's just go straight to that because we're from the UK. Let's talk the UK show. What are your memories and thoughts of that show?
Well, I was really bummed I couldn't come out and be a part of it. This injury is I'm on the back end. I'm healing up real well.
Yeah.
But so it was kind of a bummer I couldn't get back in time because I do love. Last time we came out there was 2019.
Was that Royal Quest?
Royal Quest. Yeah.
I was there for that one at the Copper Box. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had so much fun, and London's actually I think is my favorite place to wrestle in terms of a city, just because the atmosphere there is always phenomenal. Fucking phone's about to fall down. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was really excited to see the show we put on. I think that everyone went out there and killed it. It's fun to watch, but it's always hard to not be there. Especially because it's always a good fucking party afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of, that's half the battle for me when it comes to wrestling. So.
I remember at the first Royal Quest, we were sat, me and my friend, and we saw you and Fredericks at ringside. And we were like, is that Connors and Fredericks? And we thought, like, he'll be maybe doing something as well. But it was cool to even just see you there last time, and it's a shame that we couldn't see you there this time, but hopefully this is going to be a reoccurring thing, this Royal Quest, hopefully a yearly tradition. That would be great. The more New Japan we can get in the UK, the better, because we saw some people saying there's no way they're going to sell out because, one, it's a 2-night event, they've got the London Marathon on at the same time,
the awkward venue.
Awkward venue. The trains were on strike, but they still did it. They're still sold out. So there's obviously a huge market for New Japan here in the UK.
I think so. I think New Japan for some reason, there's that connection between British wrestling and Japanese wrestling that I think there's just a certain, which is funny because the fans couldn't be farther from each other in terms of just how they like to cheer. But I think it's still just I think it's still good wrestling is good wrestling. I think there's an appreciation for that. And I think that we're going to see a lot more New Japan all over the world, but hopefully, and I know for sure we're going to be in London a lot in the near future. So.
I just want to, before get to Rian's question, he's got a great question to ask you, which came up earlier. Just want to touch on the new championship that's been introduced to New Japan, which is the New Japan World Championship. It's not a World Championship; it's New Japan World Championship. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I've seen mixed thoughts on how it looks. I personally think it's quite a nice championship. It's quite old school. But what are your thoughts on the idea of it? Each contest is under 15 minutes, I believe. So faster paced matches for the newer guys in the company. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that title was made for me, to be honest with Yeah, like, but just how it looks, I love it. I love bling. Like, if you see me normally walking around the streets, I'm always iced up on with something. So
Yep.
first of all, I want to carry that around with me. I would be proud to carry that through an airport. But then in terms of the actual match structure, like 15 minutes, I've said this so many times. Anyone who knows me is like, don't get me wrong, Okada, Jay, all these guys, Osprey, they do their 30-minute barn burners at Wrestle Kingdom, go 35 minutes in the G1 or whatever the fuck. I That's great and all. I think I could do it if I wanted to, but I think a good 15-minute go hard match is some of the best wrestling to me. I think it just fits a flow better. There's not as much of like a it's not a lot of filler. It's real. If we're gonna go, I think for me that's exactly what I want to do, especially in the small towns, especially with a lot of the newer talent, younger talent. I think it's kind of has my name written all over it. So I'm gonna definitely throw my hat in the ring when I can get back over there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Some of my favorite wrestling matches from the last few years have been those matches which are 15 minutes and under. Like even when you look at Brock and Goldberg from WrestleMania 33, that was only a 5-minute match bell to bell, but one hell of a match. And I think
Kenta and Ricky Marvin was 2 minutes.
There we go.
That's one of my. Every time we watched when in the pandemic, we made playlists and someone was like, let's stick a little short match in there. I've never seen a match that just Kushida and Takahashi from Sakura Genesis is another one. That was another 5-6 minute match that just falls to the wall. So you're on your edge of your seat and your eyes aren't taken off the ring. I think that's like a really good. I think that'd be a really good opening to shows. It feels like that belt could hold that, like if you want to get the crowd hyped or get when the crowds are allowed cheer, get them back on their feet. I think that belt's just you. For example, you and Alex Coughlin can go balls to the wall for 15 minutes for that belt to be like serious, man.
Yeah, put on a clinic out there. I think a lot of the wrestlers I model myself after. Like I always say, my goal is to be the Brock Lesnar of the junior division. Throw people around, get stuff done. Goldberg, Lashley, like all these guys who are just they're hard hitters. They wrestle these short matches, but they don't need to. You just beat someone's ass. You got to get it done as quickly as possible, and especially defending them in those like small towns. I think it's going to be a good way to elevate a main event, in like in a country town in Japan, and I want to bring it back to the States too. And depending on how strong of the shows here, I think that's be a great opportunity as well.
Definitely, and I think while we're talking championships, also got to ask. You were added at last minute to the All Atlantic Championship match for AEW. This was, like I said, it was last minute. I was at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, so it was a New Japan AEW crossover, and a lot of people said that you being added to that match was like the highlight of the night. They might not have known you going into it. They might not have been familiar with it, but you were the one that they were talking about coming out of it. And for you, I mean, what was the reception like after the match, and how do you feel like that match went for the All Atlantic Championship?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably, I recorded Jericho's podcast like right before that because it just happenstance. And he asked me that question. He's like, what's your biggest match of your career? And I said, this one. I mean? Like, the next one always is, but this one in particular was huge. And I didn't have any expectation going in, except I just know what I can do. And it's just been a matter of time to be put in a spot. And that's how it happens sometimes in wrestling is, God forbid someone gets hurt, whatever it is. You got to step up and always just being ready. And I was ready, and I knew I was ready. So I was probably the least surprised person that out of everybody in terms of like I knew I was going to kill it.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't win. That sucks. But in terms of just raising my stock overall, I think it really was that kickoff thing, and then I was really had a rising star going there for that month or so until my back got hurt.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to pick up that momentum where we let off, and we'll see. We'll go from there.
Do you feel like these Forbidden Door shows are something you'd like to do more of in the future?
Oh yeah, I think they're great. I think it's a good payday for the boys. I think it's a good show for the fans. I think it's a spotlight, right? Where it's like the more we intermix these companies with one another, whether it be AEW, us, Impact, even the new Ring of Honor, whatever we're doing with that. Fuck, WWE. Look at that. You saw the Good Brothers last night show up, and Carl's still the never champion. So it's like even with all this new landscape of wrestling, it's allowing so many people to see these new faces and talents they've never heard of before. Like a lot of AEW people never heard of Clark Connors. It just so happened I got a shot, and then my Twitter or something like blew up. It got like 2,000 more followers, and that was just from doing 15 minutes of being out there. And I didn't win, didn't do anything. So
you were trending on Twitter after the match. I mean, during and after the match, you were trending on Twitter, and I thought that was really cool as well.
I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, no, it's cool.
You got to take your opportunities. Like when an opportunity is presented to you, you just got to grab it, and then you never know what could happen.
100%. Yeah, no, it's preparation, right? What is it? Luck is timing and preparation, or there's some line that I should probably know by now because I've said it wrong every time I've had an interview. But yeah, either way, yeah, I'm happy it happened. And sorry for Ishii for busting his knee up or whatever the fuck that was. It wasn't me, by the way. it was like a Yakuza guy I hired actually got him with the old pipe wrench to the knee, but other than that, I'm just happy it turned out how it did.
Yeah, no, I spoke to your good friend Alex. That interview should be out now by the time this interview comes out, around that time. And I asked him, because I know when you seem like someone with like a lot of confidence, so your answer might be different here. But when you walked into that building that day, because it was such a historic event, now like Forbidden Door, all the names that were there, like Sting, CM Punk, John Moxley, anyone, just to name a couple, like I'm probably missing out a load. Even non-wrestlers. When Alex was saying he got a new suit, he felt like $1 million. He walked in and he was just delighted to be there. What was it like being in that locker room on the day, especially since you were thrown into this match on a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks? I can't remember. Noticed. What was it like walking in there, obviously suited up with the boys, and then like just being in that locker room? You must have had that kind of kid on Christmas feel a little bit, as much as you're trying to be professional.
Yeah, a little bit, but what's funny about that is like I've gotten to the point. I've never been a person who marks out with people. I think I just, even when before I started wrestling, I always thought it was cool, but I always kind of had the feeling like, oh, this is just a normal person. You know what I mean? Everyone's a regular person, and obviously I respect everything that everyone's done in their career, and I look up to them in that sense. And but at the same time, I don't know. I usually feel really comfortable in those situations, and it's just like, it's just going to be a curt introduction anyways. Like, hey, how you doing? Clark Connors. And then pleasure to meet you, sir, for the most part anyways, And then if you hit it off with someone, you end up making a new friend, that's even better. But it was cool for me. I think the coolest part was we filmed some stuff for me in particular there, and just because it was like it was my chance to do it, and it was just like, they're doing a New Japan, like little mini doc. I don't think they're going to even air it, honestly. So I must have not done a good enough job. But I think that part of it was cool, just to have, being with all these superstars and such. But I had to get there early to make sure I could, record this podcast and do this and do that. And I was so busy that I felt like I was just one of the other guys who were setting up beforehand. I wasn't just there just taking it all in. I was like,
no time to think. Yeah, no time to think.
Exactly. Yeah, just like, it's like I had a job to do, and that was it. And then afterwards, get right into the beers. And it was
Yeah, Chicago seems like a good party city anyway. Yeah, we were talking a lot about the present, but I like doing a little bit of a deep dive before I interview people, just to see if I can find anything that might surprise them. And I found I went on to, obviously, the beloved website called Cage Match, and I was looking through, and I went back to about 4 years ago, and I found obviously AEW trios titles, and I was wondering if Cougar Meat we're gonna make a play for those AEW trios titles.
Cougar Meat, that's funny. Because they were a tag team for the longest time up there, and like I think they just needed to throw me in for one. There's these two guys, they're great workers up there, Kyle and Colin, but that was one of those things where like I wasn't my gimmick at all, but we were at this fair show in Canada, And so the booker, who's a good friend of mine, actually, Tim Flowers, the old school wrestling guy, goes, "Hey, it's gonna be you and Cougar meet and stuff." Like, fuck yeah, because they just do a whole thing where they're out there doing the sexy swiveling on all the milfs and everything. And that's not really my normal wrestling bag, but dude, I fit in real nice with it. So I think we'll get over. I'll tell you that much. I know we might not win, but we'll get over.
I think the name enough is to get, that'll get over with fans anyway. Put that on the t-shirt. It's a license to print money. As soon as he told me, I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I thought for 1 second that it might have been like a hunting. I was like, nah, it's not going to be what I thought it was. It's going to be like some sort of, no, it's the sex show. It's a sexy show. I was like, yeah, go after Death Triangle. They need new challengers after that.
Death Triangle versus Cougar Meat. Yeah.
We'll out-sex them for sure. But I wish I came up with that gimmick, but no, that's all those guys. I'm the honorary member, so I'm cool with that stuff.
Yeah. I found a more serious, probably serious, or probably a more serious note from back in 2018. Well, you actually fought Liger in the early stages relatively early stages of your career. I believe it was a 5-minute match, but I'm assuming in that 5 minutes you learned more than you have ever learned in your life, or even just surrounding that match. What was it like being thrown in there with Jushin Thunder Liger at the year in 2018?
Yeah, that was I remember that was one of the first times though that I was like, they told me about it. Shibata told me about it maybe maybe a month or so before. He's like, "Oh, maybe you and Liger match," and I was just like, "Oh shit!" That was the first time I got really excited for something. And I wasn't worried by any means because I knew what I could do, and I knew it's Liger, so he's gonna take care of me and shit. If I needed help running through anything, but. The cool part though is just getting in there with them and and being able to not only hold my own but just could actually do more than what he expected. He expected me to be some young lion, right? Just some kid who doesn't really know what he's doing, and we were at that point just jacked out of our minds, and crazy working out, 7 days a week with Shibata, 6 hours a day. So we were just these fucking jacked machines, but getting to go in there with them, and we didn't. It was at an expo, it was a Bushi Road Expo thing, and so it was it was some wrestling fans, but a lot of anime and Comic-Con people. But obviously, the coolest thing ever is for me was I ran out there, did my entrance, and then his music hit, and you're just standing there in the ring, just looking hard, but I just wanted to dance to the music, and it's so fun. But then, the match was short. It was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, I wanted to go a little longer, and then it was okay, we're done. And I was like, all right, that's cool, man. I get it. We're at a fucking expo, and you're Jushin Thunder Liger, and you're wrestling a young lion. Okay, and so but in the back, he was like, oh my god, so good. It felt really good to get his approval, and then later on in my career, I got to team up with him for a little while, just on a couple of the little town tours we did in 2019, right before he retired. And those were some of my favorite matches, just because it was just it was against Phantasmo and Ishimori, most of them, and that's always fun. And to dick around, a little bit, and just to have him after every match, I would take a pin, and he would just still I'd bow, he'd bow to me, and give me my hand raised, and just oh, this is how you help get someone over, that's how you and to be from him in Japan. Okay, I got that off my bucket list, and I think I'm lucky to be one of those people who got to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to wrestle and team with a legend. Not many people can say that. Right. One thing I've always wondered as well is you mentioned these smaller shows in Japan, the smaller villages, smaller towns. I know what that's like in the UK and in America, the smaller shows, the smaller venues, that it's, they're a different atmosphere to the bigger shows. In Japan, what is it like when you're doing the smaller events? Is wrestling still big in these smaller towns? Is it still got the same atmosphere, or is it very much like a smaller version of what you'd expect?
Hard to explain, I'd say. I think it's the fans are just as rabid, if not more, just like you would see in a smaller town, right? Where they're they really like care about wrestling, and it's like, oh, this is the big show coming to town, and like let's all go to the the arena. But the difference is obviously, I don't know how it is in the UK, but in these small towns, like there's not these big like there's obviously not big arenas. We're not going to go to Ryogoku or even Korakuen. It's more like it's more just like almost like sometimes we'll wrestle in gymnasiums, and this is New Japan, which is like the top companies in the world, and it's just it always makes me kind of laugh, like, oh, we're just in like a gym right now, like a community center, and I call them during the Best of Super Juniors. We're making the joke that A Block's got all these nice lighting venues, and B Block got all like the we call it like all the with the regular lights on. I call them B Block venues. So yeah, but like it's like these, and you're just like, oh, the lights are on, so all the pomp and circumstance is kind of funny to watch. Like, I don't know, Evil come out like when he was doing his whole thing with the like King of Darkness thing with the little spinny light, but then he's in like a high school gymnasium, and you're like, oh well, that kind of really takes the bluster out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining you're in a small community center, maybe a few hundred people, and then you hear the coin drop and Okada comes out doing the full entrance, and I just can't imagine anything but the Tokyo Dome for Okada.
I know, and it's one of those things that I find so it's like this cognitive dissonance where it's just like Okada, like our company especially is made for the Tokyo Dome, is made for Ryogoku, is made for all these sumalls all over the place, Osaka Joe, and so we all dress accordingly, we act accordingly, we are paid accordingly, like so. When you take all that and you put it into this like these little arenas, which happens a lot, it creates just this like it's almost, I don't want to say comical, but I always thought so. Like when I was a young lion, I would sit there almost laughing, like, what the fuck are we doing? Why is like, I mean, LIJ, that's why Naito wears a t-shirt half the time, is because he's not going to put his full suit on for that,
Yeah.
And thank God, as he shouldn't, because it'd be weird if he did.
Yeah, I get you.
But the towns and stuff, I love them. I love going to little towns where you don't really, especially. I know a little bit. I know quite a bit of Japanese now, but in the other places, it's easy to find something to do after the show. But like these little towns, sometimes there's no gyms, there's no anything. So you get to, for me, I'll get my workout in that day. Let's go for a long run, and just run to these little towns and just kind of figure out where stuff is, and find like a weird little restaurant, little izakaya or something. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Have you got a Ribera Steakhouse jacket?
Yeah, I got one.
You got one.
It was I just cut the sleeves off it actually. So I spray painted it. I got it in my room somewhere, but it was a very nice gesture, and I want to thank I went out with Zane and what's his Masa Sato.
Masa, yeah.
He's a really good dude, So we went to Ribera, got all our jackets, and I was looking at them, and I remember I showed it to another wrestler, a vet wrestler, and he goes, oh, nice, yeah, you got a weenie jacket, and I was like kind of laughing at because I could tell it's like it's not like the shiny satin one, with like the nice stripes on it. It was like, oh yeah, oh you're like a wrestler, aren't you? Okay, here's the jacket. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna make it my own. So I fucking kind of crop topped it, cut the sleeves off, pasted my logo on the back, and I love the Ribera, the corn soup's delicious, as they say. But yeah, I mean, I'll get another one. I'll put it that way.
Speaking of Massa, have you got him on Instagram? Because he's met everybody. You name a person, he's met them, and I don't get it because I'm sure he's only about 30 years old, but he's met everybody ever in the history of wrestling and celebrities, and I'm like, how does he do it?
I did. He has stories about it all too. He's like, oh yeah, Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, I met her this one time. I was like, what? He doesn't bring it up. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, it's like,
what an interesting guy.
Just name dropping all over the place.
That's this whole bit. But I think he's a very kind man, and and he does what he does, and somehow he has enough money to do this, watch
Hey,
that much wrestling.
he's a good hustler. He's got t-shirts on pro wrestling tees. He knows what he's doing.
Hey man, you got to get it with the buck.
Got to hustle, yeah.
You're gonna make a few dollars on pro wrestling tees if Kenny Omega's friend. I think that's just like a law.
Yeah.
The food talk reminded me that I had Japanese tapas for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and then I went on a night out and I had energy. Now I realize how you guys do those matches. That food, like it wasn't authentic Japan, but it was the most authentic Japanese restaurant in Ireland. Had some nice miso soup, some prawns, and then when I went on a night out, I was like, I'm invincible. I can beat anybody in a game of pool. So I know why I can go 40 minutes because the food just seems amazing over there. But I just want to bring it back to the UK for a little bit, because you were talking about like the kind of the UK crowd being really good. I know you did a couple of Rev Pro shows with the boys. What was doing Rev Pro like with Carl and Alex and Yoda? I asked Alex for a Yoda Suji story because I've seen a lot of his stuff in the UK, and he said I can't really tell many on a camera. I'm sure you're the same. But what was it like touring the UK?
I can't say Suji stories. He is a very first of all, Suji is a very like one of the smartest like dudes. Like all those young lions. Well, no, that's not true. Narita and Suji are very smart. Very smart guys. Yuya's an idiot, but yeah, I've always had fun going to the UK, and I got to stay with Rev Pro guys for like a week and a half one time because I did both of the ends of the week. Like I did shows on one Sunday, shows on another Sunday. Got in a little early, stayed an extra day. It's like a 10-day trip, and that was one of the most fun times I've had. It's just like because I really like those Rev Pro guys. They still have that. They have just a love for the game, you know what I mean? It's fun to be around it, and then also having some of my buddies over there from New Japan and going out all the time, just taking the tube to London or take whatever it is. Yeah, I think RevPro is a great product. I think it's a great show. It's great to see Gabriel Kidd back over there. You know, Gabe's one of my best friends, and I don't know if did he wrestle Ricky Shane Page yet for the title, or is that coming up?
I think it's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's good to see him do. It's good to see him doing well. Anyway.
Yeah, I love Gabe.
Yeah.
He's had a rough time, but like he seems to be on the other side of it and fucking moving on up.
Yeah, Gabe. Yeah. He's one of those guys who, when he was on the UK scene, you just knew that he was on to bigger and better things. And he always had New Japan in mind anyway. When you watched him wrestle, you knew you was watching somebody who loved New Japan and that strong style. I couldn't ever imagine him like thinking, right, NXT or something. And I'm sure I don't know what his thoughts are on that, but you knew he wanted to be in New Japan. And I remember when Shibata came out to announce that he was taking him on at the dojo, it was such a great moment. And yeah, Gabe, yourself, Fredericks, you're all guys that I think you kind of came in together around the same time at New Japan, and I think you've all got like an incredible amount of potential. And Fredericks is another guy we've spoken to. I think he's great. We've had Coughlin on as well. I love Alex. Some of the best interviews we've done.
My interview with Alex was like, I think I got told like 2 days beforehand, and I went on the interview, and it was just. I saw a video of him hitting the drums yesterday. What's that about? That dude can go on the drums. You guys got a band going yet? I can see you with your hair down.
Yeah, no, I can't do anything musical, but I'm more of a hype man. But Carl can play. Carl's a singer a little bit, and he obviously is a great DJ. And then Alex is on the drums, and Gabe, I don't know, he's kind of. I can bet we could teach him the triangle or something. We'll see. But dude, like those guys are guys are my family, you know. We came in pretty much at similar times, and we've obviously been through trial and tribulations. I mean, trained under Shibata for however fucking long we've done it really kind of makes you a certain way.
Yeah.
And you already have to be a certain way when you go in, and then on top of that, like you just get this crazy amount of. Only the four of us know exactly what we went through, you know. It's select few, and like that's why LA Dojo is its own type of thing. You know, we're the only ones who know. Like we can talk about doing all the squats and doing the push-ups and training for however many hours, but until you do it, you can't really fathom what it actually means to do all that. You know,
Yeah.
live that dojo.
You have to be there.
Give up that freedom. Yeah. So we have that with each other, and yeah, it's glad to see everyone's kind of is really doing well right now, and yeah, I think I've always thought that like Carl has always had that superstar personality. Like Carl is a superstar wherever he goes, whatever he does, he's got that. Alex, like you said, is probably to me, it's probably one of the smartest and funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. I can talk to him forever, you know, and he's obviously the biggest freak of nature in wrestling, in my opinion. Pound for pound, I think he's stronger than Cesaro. I think he's stronger than any of those guys who call themselves, you know, pound for pound strong. And Gabe, like you guys have watched him grow up. Like he's got this passion for it, and he's one of the best. He's great on the mic. He can tell a great story in the ring. And I think he loves wrestling more than anybody that I know. So it's like it's just a straight. And I'm just really fucking good at wrestling. So there's so yeah, it's like we all got our qualities, and we all kind of make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. So I love all those guys.
Well, but the most important question of it is when you four go out, who's the last person at the bar?
Well, it depends. Usually, probably I'd say Carl, but in terms of drinking, we all kind of drink. I mean, we drink very, very heavily. It might be me. It might be me and Gabe because Carl will go home with a girl or something, and then Alex will just Alex will be kind of over it, and he's like, "All right, let's go home." And me and Gabe will like dance on the dance floor, like, "No, fuck you, we're gonna dance longer." Yeah, I think that's probably usually the order.
Well. On that note, I think that's a great last question. Before we start to wrap up, just tell us, I mean, obviously at the moment you're out of action for a bit. There's not much you can really do, but can you give us any insight into what you're going to do when you kind of come back?
Yeah. So I believe we have some news dropping here pretty soon about my return. I don't know the exact, but I am coming back sooner than later. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
But my goals right now is just to be able to have a match with my back intact. And I'm getting to the point where I will be ready for that in this near future. And being able to get back to Japan, and I really legitimately have my eyes set on that title, on the new one.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be watching that tournament closely, but also getting kind of back into either the junior scene or just doing something with the LA Dojo guys. I don't know what it might be, but I just know that this is kind of our time right now. Because I think if you really been watching, you watched that last pay-per-view, the Declaration of Power, you can tell there's a youth movement in Japan. And I think, you know, Narita coming back, seeing what Hikuleo's doing, and I mean Jay's still a champion. He's just turned 30, you know, and I think New Japan's finally realizing, okay, we have an opportunity here for a lot of young talent that's really good. So I think 2023 is going to be a youth movement, and I want to be at the forefront of that in the junior division and doing everything. So we'll see.
That's amazing. Well, I can't see any reason why that's not going to happen. And obviously, before we go, make sure you tell everybody where they can find you on social media or where we can buy your merchandise.
Yeah, so New Japan, the Tokon shop, you get my merchandise. I get about 50 cents per t-shirt, so everyone really helps. But other than that, find me Clark Connors, or at Clark Connors on Twitter, and at Clark.Connors on Instagram, I believe. Might be flipped, doesn't matter. Just type it in, you'll find me. But yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you, guys.
Oh, well, thank you.
I've got just one closing out question. I asked this to Alex. It was a question that there's a podcast that I listen to, and they ask a question at the end. And you'll have to listen to Alex's, but he gave me a very, very funny answer after a long pause. But Clark Connors, how would you like to?
Great, set me up. How funnier than Alex? Oh,
no. How would you like to be remembered?
God. Just in general, I think I just want to be remembered. I think it's all you know?
Good answer.
I love that.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. I just want to be remembered.
That's a good answer.
Love that. I think we all want to be remembered.
Now I'm interested. What did Alex say?
He just had like a really, I think it was like a 20-second pause, and I thought the audio cut out, and then it was just like, I don't fucking know. And then it was just like,
Hey, better answer. That's why it's a funny one.
Well, Clark, hopefully we can get you on again in the future. Until then, all the best with your recovery and when you come back, and we'll talk to you again soon. Clark Connors, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.